balance is the greatest goal in health, right? That's another one. Yeah, balance is, I think, another of these things that would be so nice to have. But I also see that balance is probably seen or visible, or if we look longer term, right? Balance may not be today in everything I do, but if I go like in motion a bit, then over time, maybe there's a balance. Is that how you see it as well, or?
Yes.
Especially with
if we look back to the idea of the ideal state being equanimity and meditation, and I can sit for 12 hours just observing the peaceful bliss that is my mind, that is, again, not the real world. And whenever you look at food or fitness or health and wellness or yoga movements, there's always this weird Judeo-Christian overlay of purity. And you kind of come back to this idea of Adam and Eve in the garden and the if only they didn't eat the apple. And a lot of this, most Western culture is built off the back of these ideas. Even for those of us who may or may not overtly subscribe to them, it's all over the place. This is what we built. These are the stories that were told in the creation of our governments and societies and schools and things like this. And there's this idea that if only I can get rid of all the lectins in my diet, my gut will be perfect. Or if only they got rid of the fluoride in the water. Or if only I did high intensity interval work and then I did lactate threshold work 2 days a week, I would have 0% body fat and I'm going to look amazing on Instagram. Or if only I do this and that protocol, my relationship will be blissful. And the reality is you don't find balance anywhere, not anywhere. First there's a drought, and then there's a flood, and then there's a quiet, and then there's a storm. What we're really looking for is things to be somewhat unnoticeable. Right now, for example, political turbulence has kind of become the norm. And what you'll hear people say is, I miss the days when politics were boring. And boring in the terms of politics, what they really mean is somewhat balanced, checks and balances. And there's not, there's things going on, but we don't need to wake up panic, pulling out our phone to wondering if bombs are going to drop. And this is what we're looking for in health. And yet, unfortunately, all of us, myself included, what we are drawn towards are the extremes. What we're thinking about is the ultramarathon, and we're like, I must do 100 kilometers. No, I must do 170 kilometers. I must do Ironman triathlon. And this is what we gravitate towards. It's really hard not to think that it's at the extremes. And with diet and wellness, I used to work in cleansing centers, and people would just starve themselves to death for 21 days, not eat anything but water. And again, it's this idea of people don't recognize what they're doing, but they're tapping into this cultural purity, Judeo-Christian overlay of my body is dirty, I must cleanse it and starve myself. And it's the Sinai Desert, and it's all of these things they don't even know, but this is what we're playing for. Me too. And it's really hard to get excited about a 30-minute walk. It's really hard to overstate the benefits of a 30-minute walk, compounded over years. Life-changing, totally life-changing. It's really hard to get excited about, a micronutrient-dense salad once a day, a big one. And it's really hard to understate the benefits of that, how it plays out 3 to 5 years down the road. And so what we're looking for is to go down to the beach and look at the sea, look at the ocean, and go, I'm not sure if it's high tide or if it's low tide. Is the water coming in or is it going out? I'm not sure. Let's watch. And what that means is those periods of, mania versus those periods of depression, it's getting so close. We're not really sure. We're not really sure. Is it sunrise or is it sunset? Is it ha or tha? That's how we talk about in yoga. Sun and moon, hot and day, work and play. And it's so hard. It's just so rare. And at any given time, almost all of us, me especially, are just totally imbalanced. We're working too much and not spending enough time with our family. Our career is going great, but our personal life is in the dumps. Our health is great, but we haven't seen our mom in a year or whatever it is. And it's so difficult to get focused on the boring middle, and you'll find very little excitement in your social group when you say, I've been sleeping pretty well. I've been leaving work on time. I have been eating a balanced diet. What people want to hear about is your ketone salts, and they want to hear about your 5-2 fasting regime, and they want to hear about your crazy boot camp exercise. And I'm not saying don't do those things, but when you do those things, it's really important to remember that you're indulging in a certain part of yourself, and it's not about health. I think the clearest place to see this would be something like bodybuilding. there was quite a young bodybuilder who passed away, I think, at the Arnold Open. I don't even really know what that is, but some type of bodybuilding competition this past week. And a lot of people under the post said, this is crazy. Bodybuilding's supposed to be about health. And then there were hundreds of comments saying, bodybuilding's never been about health. And this is important. Like if you want to do bodybuilding, which is very, very extreme, like an Ironman triathlete, like the starving yourself for 21 days, by all means do it. But when you do it, you shouldn't do it lying to yourself. You're not looking, what you're doing is optimizing for the extreme low tide where all the rocks are visible, or you're optimizing for the tsunami that just smashes all the homes. And if you'd like to play there, I like to too sometimes, you need to understand what you're doing and need to understand that there are repercussions, and don't lie to yourself like a lot of us do and pretend like this is part of a health plan, because it's the opposite. The health plan is, and you find this all over the place, all the centenarians, super centenarians, none of them were like NFL football players. None of them are Ironman triathletes. Zero of them. Never happens. They're just super boring average people who are somewhat active and you know have a social life. And so if you're optimizing for health, what you're optimizing for is something pretty dull. Like you want to be sort of a B average, just somewhere in the middle where you're getting a decent amount of sleep, getting some work, and that's a hard thing to get excited about. And especially right now, it's pretty much impossible to get social media or clicks on. So it's very difficult for people to monetize that type of behavior.
I see. It's so inspirational. And also because we also mentioned at the beginning, right, that we ultimately also crave some adventure and some slash craziness. Yeah. And as you very beautifully say, you including. So I'm curious, of course, about you and your extremes that you, I know you published a book on marathons also. I mean, in some people's minds, marathons may not be extreme, but for some, I think for many of us, we feel like, wow, someone runs a marathon. So are you into marathon?
Yes and no. I run a lot, and I've run a lot of marathons. I run
a lot of marathons.
I run slow enough that I feel like it's not a big hit on my health, but I also don't lie to myself. I think that level of distance for somebody my age is probably the training part is definitely health promoting. The event itself is probably not worth the event itself. Except the psychology is probably worth it for me. But I don't lie to myself. I don't think this is part of my health journey. This is me indulging in something that's probably a little bit too intense for somebody my age. The math changes and people's bodies are different. And there are people who can do all kinds of things that you or I couldn't do. And there are people who can do a whole lot less as well. And so it's important to know that people are absolutely built differently. But yeah, I like what kinds of things would I indulge in? I guess, the things that I do that are maybe not that healthy would be, overworking for sure. Undersleeping. This is something that I chronically struggle with. Overwork, undersleep. And I don't overtrain, but I certainly do have blips, probably 3 or 4 during the year where I push myself physically. But I've never had like rhabdo. I've never had like, I've never had injuries from marathons or things like this. And so I feel like I'm towing the line pretty well, but I'm not immune to it. I still look at these ultramarathons and I want to do them and these sorts of things, but I don't lie to myself in terms of thinking that it's a healthy activity.